Hello, welcome to the Cornerbird Studio. Am I gonna cough? Oh fuck. So I felt like dying the past 2 days because I was sick. For real. I haven't climbed for 1 week. Like my hands feel so itchy. Like I want to climb but I can't because if I exert any effort, my body will start like burning up just from being sick. So I guess gotta take it easy. I've been doing some, like if you're a climber, you probably know someone called Emil Abrahamson, and he did this thing called no hangs. What it is you're hanging off the hangboard. I'm just going to, if you don't know anything about climbing, I'm sorry, but you climb off the hangboard, but with super lightweight. And what these lightweight sessions do is just for your tendons and ligaments to adapt to like this low weight stress. And it's just a good way to manage healthy tendons and stuff, all that, because like tendon and ligament health is very different from the way you manage it is very different from like muscle strength. But I'm not going to talk about that too much because this is just things that I like to do and it's not really related to art. But anyway, thank you for the 500 subs. Oh my god. Feels like ages since they came to say thanks for 100 subs. Elden Ring Sculpt Run gangs here. Thank you for 500 subs. Fake Alexandra the Pot. I guess the Sparrow the Pot is here. Along with the 2 ears and the ever incandescent duck. Thank you so much for 500 subs. Thank you. Oh my god, I need to stop coughing. I'm just like, my body's just coughing now to take the phlegm out. It's kind of crazy how different I feel today compared to yesterday. Yesterday I just felt like I was just half dead. And I was just lying down the whole day because I just felt like dying. And then today I woke up, of course thanks to medication and all that. Today I woke up feeling a lot better, but there's still some stuff to clear out, so I'll be coughing. Okay, let me put the guys back. So anyway, I was kind of thinking about someone's comment the other day from my previous live stream, and they said that they like doing work with me. So I was thinking like, oh yeah, that's how I started. I don't like this. That's how I started this channel with Study With Me's. And now that I have the confidence to do live stream, interact the chat, well, it feels like ages ago when I don't have the nerve to like even speak on on the YouTube channel. I've grown so much. I'm so touched at my own efforts. But yeah, so I will try and be more regular. Oh my god. Fuck. I'll try and be more regular. Can't promise anything because yeah. But I feel like 4:30 to 4 to 6 p.m. Singapore time, if I can make it, that is a nice time that I like to do streaming. So I'm gonna see if I can do that. But anyway, I'm streaming late at night right now because I just got better finally after 1 week of being sick. And I wasn't even sure whether I would talk today because talking kind of makes me want to cough. But let's see, if I go and cough a lot more, then I just want to thank everyone for the 500 subs while I'm trying not to cough right now. Oh my god, let me drink some water. Anyway, you're probably curious about what's on my screen right now. Why do I want to cough and it just starts? And also some slight updates. I just got a new screen protector that is, I'm not really sure whether they can hear that paper ASMR. Also have a metal nib now, because the other day when I was sick and just like playing around with my boyfriend's iPad, and then he has this Paperlite screen protector with this metal nib, and then I tried it again this year. 2 days ago, or was it a day ago? And I was like, oh, you know what? Now that I like to paint, I like this Paperlite screen protector and the metal nib, so I bought myself some. And this is the elecom metal nib, and also the elecom smooth type screen protector. It's all in the description, and I will just list it in all my future live streams, the gear that I'm using. So it comes with 2 nibs, and like this box is like fucking huge. It's so big, but like the product is just this much. Yeah. Let me get some music first. And one of the good things is that my throat is itchy. One of the good things is that, like, I'm not really sure whether it shows up on the live streams, but previously with just a bare screen, because I haven't been using a screen protector, I've been just drawing directly on my iPad. That is, oh, hello Thomas. Thank you for dropping by. Do you feel like the nib allows for greater... this one, so this nib, let me see if I can find the older. So this is the old one, right? And it's taped up because like I just changed it and then I dropped it and then it broke, which is quite shitty, but oh well, like the tape works. So I think if I line it up properly, this nib, the original nib, kind of ends over here. So this metal one, it sticks out a little bit more. I wonder if I can. So this metal one sticks out a little bit more like this. It's a bit hard to see like this. So I would say this one, the precision is not that good, and I'm going to talk about some drawing stuff, painting things first. So if I'm going to draw really slowly, wait, let me get my... I'm going to draw really slowly. Okay, if I'm going to draw really slowly... Oh, is it a bit straight? Anyway, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of like a wobble. Maybe if I'm more slanted, it's more visible. And I'm not really sure whether it's because there's a little bit more distance between the sensor and the iPad screen. So I think like with this nib, you might have like this little bit of instability. But so I've tried painted this one and this guy with this nib. And well, I guess as long as you don't mind this when you're doing really slow things. And like I guess you can kind of like correct it with, oh my god. You can kind of correct it with like just, I'm so not ready. Just like fixing up the edges. But like overall, like I really like the feel of this one. I think there might be other metal nibs that's like clear over here, so the nib ends at the same point as like the default one. Like it's a bit shorter, but this one is 0.1 mm. The other metal nibs, I wouldn't know how thin the nib is, so it is quite a nice. It's quite a nice feel. Like you see it when I'm doing faster and also with stability. So my streamline amount is like 30%. So if I do that, then it's not too bad. See, like this? It's not too bad. I guess it's like just a little bit of compromise. Like there's also this thing of their selling point for this one is that because there's a little bit more distance, then you can kind of see better what is behind the pen, which I guess like is true to a certain extent. So it's like a give and take. Yeah, I think my thought process would be quite similar to yours, and then I'll like get a thing and then I'll be like, oh yeah, it's not. It doesn't work that way. I hope that answers your questions. And yeah, there are quite a few options out there. But of course, the thing with the metal nib, you have to get the screen protector. Although I've seen someone use the metal nib with just like the iPad screen without any layer over it. Yeah. The only thing would be that now I see like this intense kind of like refraction of pinks and greens on the screen. Although it's not really that visible on the camera. But I guess it's just kind of like it's just like a give and take kind of thing. Oh, yeah, it sounds nice. Yeah, it sounds really nice. And you are welcome. So I've been painting a little bit in the past few streams and past few days, off streams. And I just want to share some of the things that I learned, which I feel like, I mean, since I've learned it, it might be helpful for anyone trying to get into painting. So like I did this quick sketch the other day. Oh wait, the focus is wrong. I guess the bending's there. So one of the important things that I learned is the just going to hide a little bit of this. I need to like is that doing low contrast paintings is really difficult for me because I'm just like starting out with painting. So doing high contrast, which means when he's doing things with like why is this so like this. So I was doing low contrast painting for two of my streams, and it's just really difficult. So I will probably come back to that in the future, but yeah, so like low contrast. So and just for context for people just are new to my channel and all that, I usually do 3D sculpting things, but there comes a point when I have all my 3D renders and I don't have a clue what to do with them. And so I took a short break to do some paintings to see what I can learn from it. And so like high contrast paintings, I did a couple like different paint studies with like little bits of elements which I'm like, oh, this might be interesting for me to apply to my paint overs, or like this bit, that bit. And when I was doing the low contrast painting, like something like that, it was just very difficult because like when the value structures kind of squeezes to like maybe this much, then like it just becomes a little bit more difficult for me. Where like how to say, like the difference between this, the difference between the values become more yeah, I'm not really sure, like because I don't really understand it myself, but it feels like the shapes are difficult to, like it becomes very difficult to keep things neat and organized, because with high contrast it feels like I can just kind of cheat to create shapes like this. And I'm the exact. I love low contrast. Yeah, I always see those artists with like they will start out like this. Like, you know, they will start out like that, and then somehow like they'll start like building it up. And then it becomes a really nice painting. But I still don't really understand how to do that yet, so I'm just gonna sidetrack like I always do. But anyway, like with high contrast stuff, yeah, I always like that sculptural approach of, yeah, just I feel like it's those kind of, when you learn oil painting on canvas, I feel like people with that kind of background, when they paint digitally and then they do it like this, yeah, like they have so much knowledge on the traditional painting side that they can transfer over to digital painting, which is really cool. But anyway, I feel like when it comes to making shapes and stuff on high contrast, for me, like it's just easier to create like distinct shapes rather than like, oh my god, this like I don't really know. But yeah, I find this a lot easier. So I guess what, in that sense, I don't really know how that applies to my own paintings, but I guess I'll try to like work on more like the full range of values than less, at least for my current renders, like paint over renders. And then hopefully in the future I can get more time to, I can spend more time to come back into painting studies again, and then just learn more things. And the reason why I'm stopping right now is because I feel like I probably learned enough for what I need right now. And like, I mean, my main objective would be to push out my 3D renders onto my Instagram and all that things, all those fun stuff. So it's just about what priorities that I have right now. So the other thing that I really like which I learned quite a bit, is like choosing the gray values in a scene. So like this color here, I think normally when I choose colors last time, it will be kind of around over here. And it's not exactly like right or wrong. And this one is kind of like, this scene is kind of me training myself to see whether or not I've learned how to see grays. So it's not really, probably if I want to add some high contrast stuff, then maybe I'll start like adding like a bit more color in the future. But right now over here, everything's pretty desaturated. But then, yeah, I wish I just realized this when I was younger. I don't know why it took me so long to realize. But let's see if I want to do a bush over here. If I want to do something more yellow, then I can go like more yellow. Oh my god. I can go more yellow. But then I can also choose like the colors that I've chosen here. And then if I want to push it to more yellow, I just have to push it. I don't really know how to structure this, like organize my thoughts for like the grays and the whites. But let's say if I want to add a bush here. I guess I feel like I'm choosing colors a lot better now. Something like that. So I think this is like the most important thing that I learned. Also with the help of my boyfriend, because he kind of reminded me of these sort of things. But let's say if you have a mid-tone like this, maybe a blue would be easier. If you have mid-tone like this, if you want to push it to more warm or like more yellow, just make it like desaturated. And then if you want to make it more blue, like more cool, then push up your saturation. Actually, how do I phrase this kind of things? So like when it comes to these kind of colors over here, I think that's probably why I like yeah, I agree with you, Thomas. Everything looks a lot better. So like these tones, I think they're kind of like around the same hues, like somewhere around here. And I think I've just painted like really desaturated the eye. And just like playing around these desaturated tones can create like quite yellow, green, blue tones. And then the other thing that you can play, like put this in the benefit, would be you have pockets of saturation like this to really make things pop at certain areas like that, and it just looks really pretty. So like all these are pretty desaturated, and then I have areas like this where it's quite saturated. Is it more so you just want well, I haven't really like, I don't really know what I'm doing because I just started. So a lot of the things is just based on the feeling of things. But there's some, how to say, like I think this one, yeah, I guess I would say it's like what, yeah, it's quite similar to what you say of I want to keep things closer together. But I guess like that would be more of because I'm still like a beginner in painting, less so than like, oh, it's my personal choice to do these kind of things. Because when I keep things quite narrow like this, then it does help me with keeping the overall color more consistent. I mean, there's some areas like this where I am deliberately like choosing, like pushing it more to yellow and getting it. But even so, it's very lightly put, and it's just like, oh, it doesn't look that great here, so maybe I'll just like adjust it, and then like, oh, okay, that's the color that I want, and then I'll just overlay it, and then I'll drop it, and then stuff like that. Yeah, let's wrap our head together around color. But yeah, I think it's yeah, for me right now, it's just noticing that a lot of the paint studies that I did, a lot of the hues are a lot closer to each other than I thought they would be. So that was like one of the takeaways that I got from doing the paint from like specific film movie paintings that I did. Like let's say if the color is like this, then last time I would think that like, oh, the color next near it looks so orange, and then it would be somewhere around here. But then it was actually like just quite close to each other like this. And so I've been kind of applying that to my own stuff, but more so of like training myself to see the variations in color better. Let me drink some water. Because like there's this thing that I always like to think about of like you have to learn the rules before you can break them. I feel like at this point, for me personally, like for sculpting, I've kind of learned the rules enough, and so I can break the rules for sculpting. For painting, I'm still learning the rules, and if I don't know the rules, then I can't break it. So I think doing these kind of things for me is trying to stick with the rules first, following the guides, and then hopefully after I do this more and more often, then I can like start pushing things, and then I got this ugly as shit. But yeah, hopefully I can like just start pushing things and be like, oh, like this thing still works for me and it makes the painting look good. But I'm not at the stage yet. So for me right now, it's just learning about how like there are quite a lot of colors that I perceive to be like very different, but then they're actually like the same hue. It's just where they are at the saturation. Oh my god. At the saturation level. So yeah, that's like a good practice for me. And I think like I haven't been painting grays before. So it's just really fun to paint. With more limitations and like playing around with these hues and just I guess like just be amazed at how like yeah, just like how many things you can get with limited palettes and stuff. Because I feel like to use everything, you kind of need to be a pro. I'm not a pro yet. Anyway, I hope that answers it. I'm not really sure. And then what's the other thing? Yeah, I think I kind of got better at. Yeah. Yeah, I really like how the saturated colors just like pops up. Or like it looks really actually is the saturation here even different? Yeah, like I think also that's why I enjoy painting a lot more now, because I mean there's this thing of like you have to do the rules before you can break them thing, but there's also this bit of like you have to do things that motivates you or like is truly like fun for you. And I feel like painting blacks and grays are just not really that fun for me. And that's also because when you're painting in color, even though the value here to here is not that much different, but when you play with saturation, like things just starts to pop or like look luminescent just from saturation alone and just from color alone. So that's been really fun. And then the other thing that I used to be really bad with is like painting white color stuff. I think I used to put like really harsh shadows on like this. Stupid. I can't wait to get back to bouldering. Anyway, yeah, I think I used to do things like this. And it just makes things look really heavy and like heavy and dark. I mean, whether or not it's saturated or not, like let's say I just put more saturation here. Like, it's just too dark. I think I used to do things more like that for objects that are white or lighter in color. And like, I've just learned that things with a really bright value, just like don't go too, probably if I want to go darker, then maybe not too dark. And then there's this thing of like saturation color. To me, I perceive it as darker, even though they are the same value. And just to remind you, this is not a tutorial because I don't even know half of the things that I talk about. You can see, like, even though things are getting more saturated, the value is the same. Oh wait, it's not really the same. Let me just make it the same then. They're around the same, whatever. You know what? Just like, don't mind me. But I can't play that. I think like that's this thing of saturated colors are a bit different. So sometimes I want to break things up and I don't want to bring down the values. I can very easily just add some saturation and then it will break up like this side to this side. So that's another good learning point that I got, which I'll talk about more in the other painting. But yeah, just don't go too hard on the shadow areas when it comes to the bright stuff. I think that really helps a lot. There's nothing else much that I've learned, because I feel like my brain can't really like handle too much information. I think this one's a bit more straightforward. Look at this, fucking adorable. So cute. I finally posted something on Instagram. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna post this on Instagram because the paint over renders are gonna take so long. So if I look at the desaturated areas, like the values over here, they're not really that different. Like this. Yeah, you get what I mean. And then, but then you can see that, well, let me just disable this layer. You can see that because let me just use this. It's just a cuter color. You can see like the separation is happening, as in the distinction is happening, just from me pushing the saturation up. Have I been using external resource? Does my boyfriend count as external resource? He's better at painting than me, and he has better traditional painting knowledge than me too. And I think like just because I can't absorb so much the things that, like, I'll ask my boyfriend, like, oh, for the paintings, like, oh, why am I not getting the color correct? Things like that, then I'll just ask him. When it comes to other things, I guess I haven't had time to look at other people's stuff. But I did remember, so this person, I think, I can't remember, this Japanese artist. He's really good at and like he showed his progression of how he went from not being a good painter to being to an awesome one. So yeah, this guy, I watched a little bit of his stuff on like how he does lighting and things, but my brain can't like absorb all the information. So maybe I'll come back to his stuff again in the future when I feel like I'm ready to sponge. Yeah, so like things like this. Let me just eye drop the color a little bit. And after this, I'll go back to the Nomad Sculpt things. So things like this. I'm just painting a really simple circle. But I think like my... You get your girlfriend to art. Oh, but actually I would think that like nowadays with all the like how like I'm not sure whether she likes cute stuff, but I feel like back in school many years ago, girls weren't really into 3D things because was it just 3D things? Because like it just feels really intimidating, or like, you know, Maya, the UI is just so like not that appealing. But nowadays, like with Blender or with Nomad Sculpt, and with everyone doing super cute stuff, or even all those website, I'm not sure, you know, those kind of websites with like you can combine things and you can make like, you know what, let's just make it now. Can make those really round and stylized. Just procrastinating at this point. Gonna make this cute. Oh, what's that? Like Boolean things. That mouth is not really that cute. Like you can make this kind of Boolean things. Like you have two circles and then you kind of like combine. You kind of like combine them to become like this round stuff, and then you can create like cute. This is not cute. I forgot what kind of yeah, Feather 3D. I tried something called Mental Canvas by Microsoft when it was a thing. I'm not even sure whether it's a thing now. But yeah, those kind of stuff is quite fun, but it's also like just more fun if you're into drawing in that kind of 3D space. Like for me, I just prefer sculpting. So I feel like I just don't really have the time to go to things like Feather 3D. And then, but yeah, like this. There's like all these like new 3D websites. Like it's not even an app, I think. It's like websites where you can do more of like Boolean modeling. And because of that, I feel like it's kind of like more friendly towards people who are quite new to art. Why? Oh, wrong layer. Yeah, I'm gonna make this look shiny for no reason. Anyway, back to the thing of yeah, you can see like with this color here, it's not that like much different, but because it's just so much saturated, it just like pops out from the whole image. So I'm just like trying to recreate like what I did with this one to this one. And if you do like overlapping things, then there's a lot of possibilities. And I guess because it's a hot dog, I need to make the back side. And just like from the thing of things in the distance, try not to make it too contrast. I think like there's some, so like when it comes to external resources, because I did come from like an art background, so there were a lot of things that I picked up along the way. Things like things in the background, like make them more defocused, make them less contrast, so that it doesn't like fight with the foreground elements, things like that like I have in my brain. But then because I don't even know how to paint my own things, because like I don't have the structures, like the correct, how to say, like guidelines, so they're just kind of like hanging around, kind of being useless information because I can't use them. So I guess I do have like quite a lot of so-called like external resources in my head, right, lying around. And also like this guy, I don't really have to talk about him, but the stuff that he has on schoolism, it's really good. But then a lot of it is also quite like too like high level for me right now. So just the thing of like values matters more than color. I think that's what he likes to say. That's like one of the main important things that I always try to keep in mind. And then yeah, cute hot dog. Let me see if I but yeah, I saw the Feather 3D. I saw the ad for it on YouTube. A few weeks ago? They released their like, what's it called? What was, is it called an ad? Was it like trailer for the app or something? And yeah, like I feel like Feather 3D, the stuff that people are doing with it, like it looks really cool. But again, it's like it's very like I think people who do architecture would really like, it's so cool to be able to use those kind of apps now to do those kind of things. But yeah. Well, I was bad at Nomad for a while, and then Well, I was bad at sculpting for a while, and then yeah, I think things are a lot more fun when you're good at it. I haven't been using Procreate for a really long time because I was bad at painting, and then now that I like painting, now that I can do a bit more painting, I'm like, oh, this is so fun. Yeah. Like, I would say like I'm a beginner in the sense of like doing personal art. If let's say I just kind of like stay in school and just do assignments all day, or if I'm like the type who just do assignments or like copy people's work, things like that, I don't I I don't think I'm a beginner in those kind of things. But in the things that I value, or the things that matters to me, I feel like I'm a beginner in those kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just easier for me to say that I'm a beginner. Like, I know that technically I'm not really that much of a beginner compared to someone who like only held the pen for like 2 days. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I'm making it look easy, because it means that I've leveled up. Yeah, thank you for liking my stuff. I really appreciate it. So anyway, back to this. There's also the other thing of like choosing the highlights. I can go pretty bright, so I can go like all the way up here. I think for this one. Actually, I'm not really sure. Did I do it for that? Sure, I should have done it for this. Yeah, something that I realized with painting is that I wish I can just make this a lot bigger, you know. Is that the difference between this versus like all the way up here is pretty big. I'm not really sure whether it's that visible. So this is something else that I learned. Like the difference between ultra white to like just a little bit down here. The difference is quite big. So I think what I should have done for this is that I should have gone even like brighter to like these highlights, just to make them pop a little bit more. Because this is the second time that I'm looking at my painting, so it's like seeing things with fresh eyes. There is a little bit of like, oh, I should have done this a little bit better, I should have done that. And what was the other thing that I learned? Do I need to talk about? This one I kind of learned more from someone else's painting rather than doing my paint studies. But which is also something that this is also something that I'm doing a little bit more just for the sake of practice. But let's say I have a color here. If I just bring it down like this, or maybe I can just choose a different color. Let me just do this. So if I, this color is right here, and then I bring it down a little bit like this. I'm not sure whether this is gonna work. Let me see. Is it gonna work? Yeah, the object looks quite solid to me. So this is just what I did with Chikawa, Hachiwari, Usagi, where I'm doing this and then I'm going down a bit more, maybe I'm shifting the hue a bit, but not that much. And then just like, I just keep going until I'm like, okay, this is a nice color. And then I'm blending it. You can see how solid this thing looks like. So that's like a good learning point for me. I really like this, very simple yet, yeah, it's so simple, but I just feel like it's one of my favorite learning points of painting recently. And then maybe I can I'm just having fun today because I'm still sick. Let me see. Oh, it kind of looks like Kirby. I was like, what is this thing? It's just Kirby. So yeah, like just practicing staying within the values, like the same. And then to create like the blush, maybe I'll just go like really saturated and bright. Actually, let me see if desaturated will look good. Not really. Oh, and then like the thing of the desaturation, making things warmer, that's a good way to make like red color stuff or orange color stuff. Yeah, it's not really that red, but I can't get my point. Like there is like a red hue on this, wherever this thing is. Like if I zoom in, it kind of looks more red, just because it's beside this very saturated blue color here. So this looks like a reddish pink hue, but they're all just existing around the same space. Is there anything else? So when it comes to saturation, I use that to the advantage of I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this and like move on to the Nomad Sculpt stuff after the toilet break. So you can see on the areas where I put the decals and decorations, and then I'll do it over here. I purposefully like chosen the more saturated colors. So let's see. Let's just do a new layer. I don't want it to be too white. Like right now I'm just eyeballing a lot of things. Like, oh, does it look nice? And if it's not, then I just undo it. Hopefully in a few months or a few years time, I can like do all these things while understanding what I'm doing. But for now, it's just... So to make it like have that 3D effect, instead of going down like this and then making it dark like that, I'm just going for like a saturated color, a bright saturated color, to like do the 3D effect. this. So that's how I did these guys. You can see like the saturation. Yeah, let me just eyedrop this. They're all quite saturated. I think even this one is pretty saturated compared to this one. You can see like how far it jumped. This one too. This one's just a lot more saturated, like this, including these guys over here. And of course, like the things of when I'm going up, like from up here to all the way down here, I am kind of like just a little bit consciously putting like a brighter color over here, and then over here is darker like this. So it's just like a really, but these are like all within my these are all within like my brain's capability to understand. So it's just like really straightforward stuff. And I think back in school, my best subjects were like math and science, just because like, it makes more logical sense to me. And that's why I treat my color studies or paintings, when I approach paintings, I'm thinking about things a lot like this, including my sculpting, just because that's the way that I like to learn things. And it's just the way that I understand concepts. So if this doesn't really make sense to you, then, and like if you see like, oh, maybe humanities is your better subject or something, then maybe you might need to switch it up. But yeah, these are just simple ways where I'm trying to improve and learn things, and also do things that I really enjoy. And before I go to the restroom, I'll just like quickly show you how I do this candy looking effect. It's just going over. I'm just going over with like this color. I dropped the color like this, and then maybe like blur up some of like the edges, and then adding like sometimes when you layer over a highlight over two different edges, it kind of makes it feel like a very easy way of putting like a surface, like a shiny glossy surface over. Like it kind of feels now that this whole thing is like some glass effect. So I also did it on like the eyebrows over here, the same thing. Of course, like it kind of have to make sense. So do something like this. And then I can blur this up. This is a default. I don't remember where it is. Maybe it's on. Is it on the painting? On the painting, there's this default brush called a stucco. I like using, because my boyfriend was using it for smudging, and I was like, oh, it's actually quite nice. So yeah, I've been liking doing this kind of stuff. Then let me do the same thing for this guy. I'm not sure whether a saturated color will work though, so let's just try it. So I think like it's kind of okay, but I'm just going to like make it a bit brighter, just because yeah, pretty neat. I'm just going to blur the edges up a bit, and then add the final magic touches. Well, cause like this is like really basic. I don't really know how to do like multi-level stuff yet. Maybe I can do a little bit. Maybe if like I just pretend that there is like another reflection surface over here, then maybe. I'm not really sure. Yeah. So anyway, I'll be back. Those are the really small lessons I've learned from my past painting. The past week of it has been a week or more than a week of painting. And I'm really glad that I took the time to I'm really glad that I took the time to, like, it was kind of a risk because I can kind of just like do do the paintings and then just like let it waste the whole week and then come back to my 3D stuff. But I'm really glad that I took the risk to do something that's very different so that I can learn a lot of cool new stuff that I can apply to my 3D things. So I'll be right back. Okay, bye Thomas. Thank you for joining me. Bye. It was nice having you too. I'm gonna go back to my Nomad Sculpt stuff. So just a little bit, as usual, it's a little bit of sidetrack of my main projects right now. But I'm making, like, I was thinking because I was sick the past few days, and like even when I was painting this one, I was painting this while I was like really sick, and my brain just like couldn't really. I think when painting this little guy here, Yeah, I just felt so miserable. Anyway, I was thinking, like, since I'm still recovering, I might as well do something that's a little bit, just like a little bit more brainless, which is to make my own base mesh. So that is the kind of like the main. I mean, I'm not really sure how much longer I'm going to stream. I feel like the cough is never going away. I'm not really sure how much longer I'm going to stream, but the next, if I'm going to do a next stream, most likely it will be on fixing up this base mesh. It kind of looks very creepy right now because they are using curve repeaters. And that is because everything has a reason for why they exist. So I'm not just like doing it for fun. I'm gonna follow the books that I have. My boyfriend, he bought the book 1 and 2. I think they'll be a good reference for me. The books are like this. I think there's one on, I feel like there should be one on body proportions. See, something like that. So I'm going to be referencing these kind of things, and that's why these curve repeaters exist. Just so that I can measure things out based on the hit. I think if the hit is, let me see if the hit is fine. I guess it's not too bad. Probably have to like measure up the hit and all that, just make sure that the size is alright. And then the other thing that I was doing while I was sick, I was turning this one into Freerun because I want to make a sculpt for her in the future. So I was testing it out, like to see whether or not my base mesh is working for future projects like this. And I think it's working pretty well. The only thing would be that I have these geometries right here for the highlights of the eyes. So you can see that the highlights are on the right side of the eyes. And because like I can't use symmetry mirror for this, they are kind of existing as. Also need to organize. Yeah, I haven't organized this one yet. They're kind of existing as their like own objects like this. Like that. But then the issue with this is that the issue is with this that I realized with making this model is that, let's say if I want to make her eyes bigger or smaller, I can kind of like select everything and do a uniform scaling and all that. But then it'll be difficult for me to like move this here and then move this here. It'll just be very difficult for me to keep them symmetrical. So I guess I have to think about what to do with that. Unless I don't even include these highlights for like the base mesh. Anyway, at this point, I'm just thinking out loud of the things I need to do to set these things up so that I can use it for future projects. Like maybe I want to replace it, like if I can do this well, then maybe I want to replace some of my existing meshes with this. Yeah. And actually, let me see. The other thing for this, did I do any changes? I think not. So how I started out with this sculpt, I started out with the preset. So let me see. So if you click on this Files tab, and I'm just going to trying to think how should I phrase this. Let me just timestamp. Okay. I was thinking like it might be easier to add a timestamp in the chat, since my streams are usually just like do work with me and it's kind of all over the place and quite long. So even if I finish this stream like prematurely, I want to talk about how I created this, because okay, I'm just gonna close this. So under the Files tab over here, you can see that there's a preset button, and I think you need to be like version 2.1 and above or something. I'm not sure that version 2 has this. And there's a bunch of stuff they can use. I don't really use them because they're not really my type of things. And under posable female, you can open this one or add it to the scene. I think I'll just open it. So you have this one, and just like the which tutorial, I have a tutorial called Basics of Symmetry. So in that tutorial, I talk about how it's important to make sure that you start off your mesh in the center of the scene or center of the wall. So I think because like this mesh was created with like a whole bunch of other mesh, I'm guessing, I'm not really sure. I'm guessing that's why this mesh, like right off the bat when you open it, is all the way like out here, even though the center is over here, like the wall origin is over here. So just make sure that if you want to start working on this like I did, that you put it back to 000. And all this is like explained in my tutorial, so I'm not going to go through it again. Like that. Then this way, everything, like the symmetry and the wall axis and local axis, they work better and when you create new objects, they all exist in kind of like in line with each other like this. It just makes things a lot easier. So because of let me just bring this one up, because I'm kind of basing it off this sculpt, how I break things up, just because this is my most this has been my most, let me just brighten this up a bit. This has been my most dynamic sculpt yet, I guess. Is it? Yeah. So I'm kind of basing it off my experience doing this one, how I want to break things up. So like to me, the shoulders and arms, upper arm. I don't really know like how to call the upper arm, because the lower arm is called the forearms, right? But the upper arm is like upper arm. So shoulder, upper arm can be together, forearms by itself, fingers, these three, the digits have to split, but knuckles like doesn't have to split for me. You can see over here the knuckles are quite yeah, this one's not really that. Yeah, like eventually the hands are going to combine. The hands are going to combine to the fingers if, let's say, the hands are quite visible, like Massimo's hands. So, and I just have to remind anyone in this tuning to the stream that this is not a tutorial. I'm just doing my own work. And I'm just walking through like what I'm thinking in my head as I'm doing all these things. So yeah, like the knuckles being separated, I started working with this sculpt. I started it off based on a free base mesh that I found somewhere on the Nomad Sculpt forum. And I think the knuckles were kind of like either really distinct or maybe like they were separate objects. And I feel like that's a bit like it's not necessary for my stuff. So I'm just going to have the palm, and then this part is fine by itself. Actually, I'll talk about it later. Then when it comes to the torso, the neck direction, it does matter. So neck has to be separated. The torso and the upper torso and the abdomen, is it abdomen? So, depending on the pose, they have to bend. So for a particular case, I gave her a bend like this, right? So it has to be separated. The torso and this one, the hips have to be separated, especially if they are wearing pants like this. For Massimo, it didn't really matter. I'm going to be a little bit scandalous right now. So it doesn't really matter, but this is the same hip object. I just use it for his underpants because his skirt is so short. So it's the same object with this one. Then the legs, 2 objects is good enough for me. You can see with this one, his legs are just one, the thighs and the shins, and then the foot. For me, the foot the foot with the toes, yeah, not really sure. I guess feet is not really that important to me, as in like having the individual toes, because I don't really know when else I would do feet sculpts. It's just for this case, like Masma is wearing sandals. So it's fine. And the other reason why like I don't really separate the legs with the kneecap, so like this one and the kneecap is one object, is because like it's kind of easy for me to just like sculpt things out, but then it's like I'm just thinking about like what is more of a hassle for me, and having more geometries is more troublesome for me. So that's why I'm going to put like kneecaps and stuff in. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep them together because I have more fun like just sculpting out the kneecaps and all that, like doing the rotation and all this stuff, instead of like manually moving many different parts around. So yeah, I think that's about it. Is there anything else I need to keep in mind? Probably not. So this one is done. Also back to this one. I feel like my throat's getting worse. Let me get some. Salt fruit stuff. So you can see the base mesh. There are quite a few things that I would change about it, and it might be personal preference kind of thing. But like, why is the symmetry weird? Oh right, because it's back to, let me move it back to. So if you like my base mesh, I'll show you how I made it. Oh, although, I guess I just realized that yeah, like these objects you are able to it's made such that you can subdivide and reverse these meshes. But if you have quad remesher, I think it shouldn't matter like what I do with these things. So the first thing that I'll do is combine this. So I'm going to combine these two. So join. And then I'm going to remesh it. And then I'll sculpt it in the way that I usually do. I've been painting for a while, so kind of like bear with me. I'm trying to remember. It always takes a bit of a moment to like jump back and forth between things. So I'm going to use this. I probably don't have time to do it in this stream, but the next stream I'm going to just be referencing all these things. I think when it comes to the body proportion, it's probably more book 1. This one, I think there's more body proportions. So I'm going to refer to this because I really like the proportions of the way this person draws the human body. And I'm going to add like, just gonna quickly add. I haven't sculpted with this metal nib. It's quite interesting how it feels right now. I'm really not used to it. Sculpt one of like the most important muscles in bouldering, the bicep. And then the tricep is very good for mantling, which is something that I'm really bad at. And then the delts, which is so important to climbing too. Like that's the bicep. The rear delts. I mean, not bicep. The side delts, rear delts, the front delts. Is it front delts? I'm not really sure. Of course, it's not that accurate because my anatomy knowledge is pretty shit. But I'm learning bit by bit through exercise, which is really awesome. So, yeah. It's also pretty late, so I'm not going to do that much. And then, and I want to work on the other one. I just want to show you what I've done to it so far. This one, I deleted this because I just prefer to like push this out like this. Like to me it makes more sense. But I'm not sure, I'm not really sure whether I'll change my mind about this. But I feel like so far I've done all my goals with one torso mesh. So something like this. And then the torso. And just clean up the silhouette. The other thing that you have to do too. Yeah, this one doesn't have it. So actually by right, this should be instances of each other. Actually, I just realized. Yeah, they should have been instances instead of this. So I'm going to work on one side. I'm not going to do the same work on the other side. I'm going to delete it instead. and I'm going to create, and hopefully I'll have part 2 and part 3 of my symmetry tutorial out, although I can't really do like the voiceover right now, so I've been working on the script and I'll show you. So hopefully there'll be like a proper tutorial on how I set things up. But anyway, I'll have a mirror like this. I'll delete this one. And mirror that too. And then for this one, I'll make sure that that's the kneecap. And make sure that when it comes to the leg, all these are kind of like good recap for me anyway, so I'm just talking things through. Make sure that that's this nice adductors. I forgot what muscle this is. But make sure that there's like this kind of nice shape going on. Like that. And I'm not really sure, but it kind of feels like this character kind of have a knee valgus, which it shouldn't have. But I guess normally like women appear to have knee valgus, but there's just like this like physio 101. And it's also something that I was struggling with a lot, which gave me a lot of injuries, but there's some muscles inside somewhere over here. There are 2 muscles, which is the, maybe I should just bring it up. Not sure whether this one will have. Maybe it doesn't have. Glute meat, and I forgot what the full names are, but the mid and the min, there are 2 small muscles inside the glutes, which like it's quite hard to differentiate, like to tell which one is which if you injure one of them or if you're weak in one of them. But a lot of, just because of like the female anatomy, let me see, just because of the female anatomy, and I feel like I want to talk about this because it kind of like shocks me like how so few people know about this. But of course my knowledge is so bad, I don't know how to draw the hip. But because like the hip anatomy is different from guys, it causes us to kind of like collapse our knees in if the glute muscles that pulls the knee outwards, like opens the knee out, is pretty weak. So my glute mid and min were really weak last time before I met my physio, and then I was kind of like collapsing. Oh, look at this knee valgus person. Oh, so easy to create knee valgus person in Sculpt. So like my knees were doing this a lot of the times. And like in some sense there's like the thing of, oh, don't be so like everyone should just move the way they want and whatever. But the fact is that if this happens, which also causes a lot of problems for me. Wait, if I collapse my... And also like collapsing the arch, is that it causes compressions. I forgot. If it goes like that, it causes compressions on the ankle tendons. So this is like kind of an ongoing chronic injury that I have that I've been trying to undo with physio. But like 20 years of this, it's just going to cause a lot of compressions at certain places. And then it will cause a lot of like imbalances, a lot of instability. It's just overall not healthy. So when I look at this default mesh, like this, like, yeah, I'm not really sure whether this person made it thinking that like, oh, this is a female thing and it looks nice, but yeah, it just gives me so many bad memories. So anyway, everyone, including females and males, it's just a lot better to make sure that when you stand on the floor, you're keeping a tripod feet, which is these 3 points on your foot is pressed, like it's stuck on the ground. You're not leaning too much on one side or even this side. And then making sure that you activate the glutes, especially when you're running. So this happens a lot when I run a lot, and then I get really tired, and then my butt starts like not working, and then everything just collapses inwards like this, like that. That's like I'm running. So just make sure that the glutes are activated, the knees are pointing forward. So these are the knees. Make sure that it faces forward, not inside. It's like, I know there's this thing of like, oh, if you want to make cute girls, you make them stand like this. Like, especially for Japanese girls or like anime characters, you make them stand like that, right? But I guess like whenever I see that, I'm like, oh man, 50 years down the line, they're going to become like crippled old grandmas because like they will have all these like tendon injuries and like very tight adductors, like all those shitty problems, and like they will need to go for hip replacement because like a lot of these there's just a lot of like interconnecting pieces at play when it comes to anatomy and like just like being functional and mobile. Yeah, I feel like I just can't give my girls this kind of poses because I'm like, oh man, like it's so bad. It's so bad for their health. What am I even talking about? So that one is done, I think. So this one I'm going to split into 3 parts later on. And then the neck, make it just the neck, because you're going to put the traps from this anyway. So this is what I'm going to change, or what I already changed, like this. So I prefer to just do you like this? Of course, like this is all my personal preference of how I do my goals, how I sculpt goals. And then the other thing would be when you look at the side view, how does it look like? So I don't really like turtlenecks because actually I'm quite curious about this base mesh because it's doing a lot of modern like physio problematic problems. Like if you are doing this all the time, at least for my case, I'll get a lot of migraines because the muscles here, I'm just gonna draw it, because the muscles over here, so they're like the neck muscles and then the trap muscles. I don't really know how they're supposed to look like with this forward posture. And I mentioned this in past streams because I'm just like mind blown at how I don't know this kind of things, and it's always causing me problems. But like the muscles over here at the back become like super stretched out that it will eventually start pulling on the structures of your skull. I mean, kind of like I'm not sure if are there muscles around here? And so like what I personally have is that my years of doing turtlenecks, it pulls on like this part of my head, like right behind my eyeballs. So it gets pulled. And there'll be like a tight knot here and tight knot here or wherever. If I massage it, then I can relieve the tightness behind, like the migraine behind the eye, or sometimes the migraine at the side of the head, or even like at the bottom of the skull here. They can relieve it. But then I'll need to take like a painkiller if it gets really bad. But then now I'm trying to make sure that I'm like keeping a healthy posture whenever I can. And then at the gym I'm training the muscles that keeps this upright posture. Just because like the years of doing texting and just like turtlenecking, it'll strengthen the muscles at the back, but then the muscles over here, like the pecs and stuff, it'll become shortened and a lot weaker. So gym has been really good at helping me fix like these issues. And at least now I know, like whenever I have migraine, like I know where it's coming from, which is really cool. But anyway, there's like a little bit of a forward posture in this person, which I don't really like because it just gives me migraine looking at this person. And like not all migraines are caused by tight muscles. Sometimes it's hormonal or whatever shit. But if you're getting quite a lot of migraines, then maybe you can see whether or not it's from the tightness of your traps and neck. So like there should be some like forward slant to the human like anatomy, but don't do too much because like everyone is turtlenecking right now because of like phone usage and all that stuff. Then for the down here, for me personally, I feel like it's a little bit too like backward leaning. And this is just like my personal preference. If you like the space mesh, then go ahead and use it. So I'll probably like do it more neutral, like straight up standing, and then that way it's a lot easier for me to that way it's just a lot easier for me to like pose them up. And then the other issue when you have mirroring like this, you can see that you can't pose them like asymmetrically. So this is when you have to validate the mirror and keep the instances. Then when you do that, you can pose like this. Like that. So the other thing that I like to do, just based on my experience of sculpting the different poses for my different characters, is just like make sure that the intersections are rounded off so that when you rotate the mesh, the areas that are hidden are not doing something like, it's not doing something like that. And then for the butt, like it's the same thing, where like it shouldn't be too long. Like it should kind of like do this. Or maybe I need to fix up the area where it hinges. And then for the face, I'm not sure whether I have time. For the face, I kind of just deleted all this. I'm not sure, like maybe you can keep this one, but I don't really use it. And of course, this is also like personal preference. Well, because like just because of my Asian anatomy, I like to do monolids because I have single eyelids and I really love single eyelids. And when it comes to Asian faces, a lot of the times the side profiles the side profiles are like not that like inset. Like we are quite flat in this sense. So these kind of things is not really applicable to the things that I do. And then the nose is too big. I like to do more narrow proportions. I mean, not narrow, like shorter proportion, just like for my personal preference. So this one, delete. Then from the head, I'm going to create a mirror. Actually, it's just down there. And this will be used for the ears. This one, I'm not really sure whether, like, do I just use it? So you can use the nose bridge, and you can use the nose. But the proportions are called like very manly proportions. So I'll call it soften it out with smoothing them out. And this is just how I do faces normally, so again, it's personal preference. I think like personally I just really like to I feel like my own facial features are not that what's this representation bullshit? But I just feel like I like to put them on my characters just because I like them on my face. It's just as simple as that. So round, kind of like the rounder nose. That's why I say this is like really, really personal preference territory. And then maybe I can make them a little bit bigger. I feel like the head is too tall for me, so I'll shorten it. And then from the side view, just make sure that they're not really sticking out that much. It's a very Asian face thing. I don't know. I only have my face to stare at, so let me make sure that can add the eyes, which is just a spear like this. I kind of align them to maybe around this size. And I have a pretty large forehead, so I just like to add that to my characters for no reason. Then everything just kind of like look really weird right now. But just got to trust in the process. I think that's why I don't really like to sculpt hits on live streams, because like things just look really weird at the start. So make sure that I have the eye socket, and then the monolids, like that. That's just how I sculpted faces for now. So it's not the best, but still workable. And then the lower lids, and then I shape. Oh, although I need to combine this first. So I guess the nose is... I can just fix up the nose later. Not really sure yet. My nose is not really that far out. Something like this. And then I'll combine these. Remesh it. Just going to timestamp. Make sure that dynamic topology is on. So I'm not really that good at sculpting faces now, but I can give some like good tips about doing faces just from like how much I struggled last time. And one of it is that the nose is going to be really difficult, the eyes is going to be very difficult, and it's kind of like painting faces where you just need to spend more time on them, and also like use like the correct brush size. So you're not going to, let's say you do the cheeks and stuff and sculpt them, and then you go to the nose. A lot of times, like, let me just do a nose. A lot of the times, I think most beginner sculptors are going to do this, and it's like suddenly the nose is really like bulbous, something like that, right? So one of the easier ways to do it would be to make sure that you have that separate geometry, and then you combine that, and then now you have this to work with. Which is not too bad. And then just keep things like, it's very easy to like make everything very big like this, just because it's like, it's such a delicate thing. And I feel like when it comes to finding the features, you have to be very delicate about things. So make sure that the brush sizes are manageable. You're pushing things around very, very delicately like this. I feel like the nose is wrong, but for now it's not too bad. I haven't talked this much in the past few days because I'm just like busy coughing. Because like talking this much is just making my throat feel miserable. So just just like be careful of doing things like that. And even if you do things like this, I'll just like tone it down a bit, make it just like slowly correct, make it more feminine, like that. See, like it's kind of like fixable. This is just a demonstration because I think like a lot of the beginner struggles would be like making the nose too like blobby and too big. So just like take it very slowly, make sure that like you can kind of smooth things out. And then check the different angles. Like you kind of get the idea, right? So I'm going to undo this creepy looking thing. And for the eyes, like I said, I like to do monolids. I know that most people like to do double eyelids. So this is probably not really that applicable to people who like to do double eyelids. Something like this. And the lower lash line. I'm using a really low dynamic topology right now, just so that I can get the overall shape correct. Upper eyeline, it should overlap this bottom part here. And then when you look at the top view, make sure that they follow the curve of the eyeball. And then make sure that this might turn out into a disaster, not really sure yet. But hopefully I can save it if it's disastrous. Because I'm not going to keep this anyway, I'm just doing this to demonstrate. And then for the lip, normally I just like draw it out. I like to use the crease brush and the draw brush. And then push in. Everything looks really creepy at the start for me. I don't know how to not make it creepy from the get-go. I'm just not good enough yet for that, I guess. And then push it out a little bit. And then push this in. Push out the mouth parts. I don't like the proportions, so I'm gonna fix it. Everything's gonna look creepy. That's why I don't do my faces on. So sometimes like my proportions of like the face and the overall head is not really like correct, but that's alright because I can just like resize the whole head like this, and after that adjust everything. Adjust everything later on. So just like slowly making things look less creepy. That's always the goal for my sculpts. And then the ears are so weird. So just... But it's good to have the ears separate as a separate object, because then you can create this sharp crevice behind the ear like this. So it kind of looks very weird right now, but then you just have to fix up the ear with the correct anatomy. Just look at the different views. And then around this time would be the time when maybe I'll just work on this a little bit more. I still don't really know how to sculpt the chin. I feel like I can do better, but for now this should do it. So around this time I start painting in the colors. I try to put like an eyeball width on one side. And then draw, I guess, like different different people have their own way of drawing the eye, the eye parts. So I probably want to push this back and push this back to create the, yeah, everything just looks weird, but we'll slowly make it not weird. Sometimes I like to add, my god, it looks so like fucking scary right now. Sometimes I like to like draw in the shape and then smooth it out to create like the shape of things. And then just like slowly correct things from different angles. I think that one of the things for creating eyes that I find very important is the making sure the curve of the eyeballs, I mean the eyelids, follow the eyeballs from the different views. And then from the front view, make sure that does this shape, cut the eye crease. Something like that. And then I'm going to start painting in. This might turn out quite shitty, but hopefully it turns out fine. And I like to do subsurface, but with like putting this pretty low. And then start doing the eyes. Eyebrows. It's always faded for my stuff. And then eyeshadow. Keep it quite minimal and very short. And then to make it look less scary for now, let's make the And then when I start painting the face, then this is when I'm like, oh my god, like it looks like shit. I need to fix it. It's just like a lot. It's a lot easier for me to see the issues with the face when I have all these like basic structures added in. And that's why I do like this stage pretty early on for my sculpts. And then I'll be like, oh, it's a lot better because of this, things like that. And then make sure that I put the like the shadows of the eyes. This is something that I learned from the painting experience budget. Like really faint. And then let's just give like some blush because like it's looking really freaky right now. Let's give it a cool tone blush. No, it's too cool tone. Maybe a warm blush. Just to make it look a little bit alive, I guess. Actually, maybe I'll just keep this face. It's not the worst that I've done. Actually, something that I don't like with smudge is that for some reason the dynamic topology is always activated for it. So just making sure that that's not. So the other thing with head sculpts, hair is very important. So because I use dynamic topology, I don't really care like where I get the geometry from. So in this case, I'll just duplicate the head. That's going to look quite creepy. Maybe I'll just do a pink hair. Why not? And then just smooth the shit out of it. She's like this quite. I was like tempted to keep it. So just do like a basic hair. Well, let me just save this first. I guess I'm happy to do this on stream anyway because I don't really have much practice with sculpting faces, or like as much as I want to. So this is just like good practice for me. So make sure that there is like a cavity in the hair. And then create like a center parting is easy for if you have symmetry on. it's just an easy way to like create a quick hairstyle. So I can like bring this up a little bit, bring this down, something like this. And then if I don't want the center parting, then I'll just change it up later. But this is kind of more for checking that my scalp looks alright. That's why I have like the color, I have the hair. It's just for me to do things, like check things a lot faster. So something like this. And then the hair can kind of pop up on and let's say if I want the hair to not be so, then I need to make sure that it goes through a lot of changes. That's just how it is with my scalps. I'll say like painting faces has helped me like understand, because I did some face paints for my painting exercises, and yeah, it's kind of like doing head sculpts and then going back to face paint and then going back to face sculpts. Like there's bits and pieces of things that you can learn from these two very different art forms, and I always feel like I learn so much from each of them, and there's so many things that I can transfer over that like I would otherwise not have picked up from if I've just done like just purely sculpting or yeah, something like that. So over here I start to fix the side view, deepen the crease, make sure that the top view is alright. And then because I'm working with such a low percentage, it's very easy for me to smooth out a lot of irregularities on the face. But of course that means that a lot of the details are not there yet. But that should be like the last thing to work on. Because sometimes it's fine if I lose the detail, as long as I'm prioritizing fixing the overall shapes. I'm really liking this new nib for sculpting too. But it's really like a lot of minor adjustments that can change the look of the face. So yeah, so now she looks less scary, which is a good thing. I wouldn't want to end the stream with like a scary face. Then something else to do is eyelashes. So I like to like just line like this with a mask tool, and then under the mask settings I'll extract with a little bit of height, just a little bit, and then I'll extract this out. So you have this piece, make sure to clear the mask, and with this one you can just do like a darker paint, and then just use it depending on what kind of style you want. You can do like those kind of single eyelash look. I'm glad that I can finally show you how I do my faces. I think I've been pretty scared of doing face sculpts on streams because I feel like they always look very scary for a long time. But then now with like the new steps that I'm doing, I guess just like leveling my skills up, I feel like I have a little bit of a color extended technique of how I do things now, and that makes it a little bit less nerve-wracking to show you guys. So I'll just like line this along the eyelids, and let's go back to the other thing that I like to do is to make sure that I'm choosing like colors that I like. Let me just choose colors that I like. Wait, not right. What am I doing? I think that's fine. Let's use this. just to create the colors. Just use any image that you like for the background colors. I like this green to red gradient in the background. So I try to keep things soft, so you don't want to have like all these, like, yeah, it's nice to flex that you know anatomy and all that, but but it's like just don't like show off your anatomy. Actually, no, it's like it's a lot harder to do subtle things than to have like, oh, let me show you the frontal lobe plane, whatever shit. Yep, don't. Keep everything nice and soft. Then now I have a higher resolution, so I'm gonna use that for making sure that the low resolution stuff looks good first. Because it's a lot easier to move things around with low resolution. So just increasing the resolution, because I think I quite like the proportion of things. Not really sure about the nose. So generally use the crease brush for like the fine lines like this. And then when doing things like the eyeline and stuff, just make sure that I'm smoothing out the creases, because I don't want anything too like sharp. There's a lot of things that I can improve on. But at least for now, this is just the things that I'm doing. To create the faces that I'm making. So the waterline, something like this. And then for the, and like I can kind of like spend a lot of time just correcting things, but for now I'll just leave it like this. Then for, actually I don't really want it to go up that much. And then for like eye lines and stuff, I try to paint in a dark color along the upper eye line, and just like keep it very thin. Then maybe color this inside part a little bit of a pink, or even like the eye line. And then what else? Just increase the resolution of everything. Kind of make sure that it's smooth from the different angles. Increase the resolution of the nose area by smoothing it slightly with a higher dynamic topology, something like this. And then sharpen stuff. Sometimes if I find that the crease brush is too thin, then I'll use the brush, the default brush. All of these are default brushes. Because my anatomy knowledge for the face can improve. But I think like so far the things that I know is kind of like good enough for creating a face like this for now. Just making sure. I feel like this is the most difficult part for me, this area here. And then for the eyelashes, using dynamic topology. Has to be quite high, so that like if you use a really low, then it's quite, what to say, it's quite, it'll disappear quite fast. So I'm just like drawing it out. And then using a drag tool with dynamic topology switched off, I'm shaping it like this. So make sure that they're facing the right. I think if you're very new to doing eyelashes and stuff, just take your time. I feel like that's something important I learned from painting, which is for things that are really fine and tiny, like just like give yourself the time that you need for it. Like the time that you spend on eyebrows shouldn't or like the jaw area, it will take a lot faster to do those kind of areas, but unless you're really pro at sculpting, just give yourself the time that you need for the other areas. And I can save this face because she looks a bit different from all the other faces that I've done so far. And I do want to keep all these. So you can see, like, now that I've done the sculpt, I think it's almost like all the time I always sculpt the features too small. And then I need to adjust the hits. So just make sure that, let me see, this one's the hit. So just make sure that everything is grouped together. And then I just change it back to the size that it's supposed to be, which is something like this. And make sure that the hit is not showing through the hair. And there's a ton of things that I can fix on the head, especially how lumpy this one looks. Let me just smooth this out a bit. But I think overall I'm quite happy with this. Actually, I'm pretty happy with this. Like, what the hell? Let me hide. Let me see. I probably want to rename these things like hit. Yeah, just like rename these things to something that makes more sense to me. It was pretty fun to do. I'm glad that it turned out alright. So let me delete this. I just prefer the neck to be like a normal cylinder. So I'll do that. And then call this the neck. And then I'll delete everything else. Since this one is just the head that's done. Like that. So let me see. Let me just look at this one. And I can probably just add this in. Oh wait, make sure that I save this properly. And I guess I tend to just like to have the torso flashed out like this, just as a habit. As long as it's not scary looking, it's fine. Okay, and then I'll save this. So I can see like how different the face looks like. Why is it like this? Wait. Seems like the perspective is different here. Yeah, I guess new mistake. I forgot to track the FOV. This is alright. Can fix it up a lot more later on. I was wondering why like the FOV looks quite weird over here. Maybe I'll just... Where is this? I'll just add this again. Like maybe I can even replace this one. So I want the whole body to be... like the height of 8 hits. So I think Freeren's case... Like I think in the show she's quite short. So maybe her height would be like this tall. Maybe like this. So maybe this is like the height of her whole body. So next time I stream, I might have done quite a bit of work on this, I'm not sure. But I'll probably still be working on fixing proportions. Need to kind of like fix this up too. And then, yeah, just like do the things that I talked about, like splitting this up, adding the muscle anatomy. I think like when it comes to this side view, I've kind of already aligned it to what I want. Make sure that they're not doing this unhealthy collapse of ankle arches, feet arches. And then make sure that, yeah, everything's just going to be a lot better next time. Of course with references for this. So it's pretty late and my throat is like destroyed. So, and my Apple Pencil is dying. I feel like, actually one of like the stupidest thing is that this Apple Pencil Gen 1 is fully capable of connecting to this if you use a third-party Bluetooth app. And the hover works with this Apple Pencil Generation 1. Like, it fucking works. Like, it feels like such a scam. But, like, it's... I was thinking of using the Apple Pencil 1 whenever this kind of like dies a little bit. But then the Bluetooth connection like keeps cutting off whenever I charge the pencil. So, but anyway, if you have an Apple Pencil 1, you have the iPad M4, or the latest iPad, or maybe I think like iPad I'm too sure of the hardware already, and use like a third-party Bluetooth connection app, the Apple Pencil Generation 1 is fully capable of doing like pressure sensitivity, the hovering thing, which is this one, the Apple Pencil hover. Well, I guess it's more visible in this thing, this hovering thing. That pencil is fully capable of doing it. So yeah, I'm not really sure like why they had to like software block it for no reason. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope that somehow this is helpful. I don't really know. And I guess like I would probably do the lower eyelashes too, the same way. Although lower eyelashes are a bit shorter. Oh, actually, I wanted to talk about makeup for a little bit, especially for Asian faces. This is something that I learned over time with my own anatomy, and because I really like to do makeup. So just something that I picked up from Korean, especially from Korean makeup artists. Like they're so good at doing very natural and soft, very pretty makeup. So when it comes to doing makeup for I'm not sure what this thing is called, where like this area is pretty short. But like a lot of the past mistakes that I do for my own face, like doing makeup for myself, is that I'll do like my makeup like this, and then it kind of shortens the eye and makes it look really heavy. So what you want to do instead is to do like this, and it's going to be very pretty. Like that. Of course you can do like different colors. Like a brighter color for the outer side of the eye, like this. You can do that. And yeah, it's just like a lot. Make sure that the blending is good. It just like keeps the eye look clearer. Makes it look clearer, and like makes it look like I'm not a makeup expert. It makes it look same thing for here. It makes it a lot like more clear cut, I guess, to do the makeup like this. And then have like a bright inner eye corner like this. that's shiny. If you want to do a more expressive makeup, you can do that. I probably delete it, but yeah. Yes, that's about it. I'll try and do my next stream at Singapore time, 4 p.m. hopefully. I'm not sure. I feel like I just want to get better and go climbing again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.